Hello, hello. This is iGaming Accent brought to you by SBC Russia, and this is our new episode. I'm your host, Vakho, and today I'm joined by quite a long time colleagues of our industry, Dimitri, and we have had opportunity to meet at few industry events and exchange some, let's say, insights and ideas into both of our passions. So today I'm joined by Dimitri. Hello, Dimitri. Nice to have you here.
Hi, Waka. Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I hope we'll enjoy this conversation.
I'm sure. As far as not many people, like many people, I think that already know you from the industry events and from all the things that we are attending and all the speeches and all the panel discussions you have been into. But I'm still, instead of me introducing you, please tell us a little bit of what you do and where you are right now and who you are, let's say like that.
Okay. I'm CEO of EvenBet Gaming. I have been running this company for about 20 years, and we started as a software development company, and then we developed our first product. It was online multiplayer poker, and mostly we have been doing this for 20 years already. So our core product is poker and different multiplayer card games, but we also develop some other products in our portfolio, like iGaming platform, other casino games, and so forth. And that's typical path when you start from one product and then you expand your portfolio to serve your customers for a wider set of products. So we are a B2B provider. So we serve operators around the world. So all the regions we are covering now, maybe except for Australia, all the continents. Yeah, and we are most active in CIS, in Europe, Latin America. Now we are expanding in Africa, and
No, very nice. So 20 years with the one company, I think that is something that deserves a big badge and also brings a lot of questions from me how these 20 years went by, because I think that you've been at the start of the industry boom. And as you told already me, like you expanded into other verticals of the iGaming itself. Can you please still tell us, like, how did you got into the industry itself? So what was the turning point for you that introduced you to our industry?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we had been a software development company without any specific focus on iGaming. We had been known anything about iGaming in 2005, and then we got one customer who asked us to develop poker for him. And 2005, it was a poker boom in the US and around the world. PokerStars started operation, and Full Tilt Poker and Titan Poker and other like big brands, they were really thriving and doing really good. And other people tried to make something the same in the poker field. We got first customer and we developed for him a poker game. It was funny because we had very little knowledge how complicated this software could be. So we really committed to deliver it within 2 months and very limited budget. But anyway, we developed something. It worked, although it was like glitchy and not looking very good. But our customer was satisfied. So then we found out that there are so many other people and companies which want online poker, because it was, like, as I mentioned, booming industry by that time, and we started focusing on this product more and more. And then by 2011, the Black Friday happened that completely closed the US market, and it was tough period for us between 2011 and 2016, because in Europe it was hard to sell poker because nobody was really much interested in this product. US was closed, and even in these emerging markets that didn't exist, Latin America or Africa or Asia. But then 16, first time I heard about GG poker and how they are successful in Asia. And I think because of this turning point in Asia, it's kind of second wave of interest in poker, mostly with Asian, so Asia was by this time the main driver instead of the US. So we started selling poker actively in Asian market and then European market, and then COVID happened and this boosted our revenue triple.
Yeah.
Because we all know how the COVID helped our industry.
Yeah.
To increase
by the way,
our
when
number.
the COVID was starting, even from I was working on B2C side, and for us it was like a big, let's say, fear of the moment, like what would happen if the people would still wanted to play or not, like if they wanted to take care, like shelter up or not spend any extra money that they have for the fun. And it totally blew my mind, like what happened there. Like it was tripled and quadrupled in few first months, and the games that were, let's say, declining were the ones on top. For example, for the same examples I can give you, like poker rooms were full, like even P2P rooms were full. Everybody went back to playing the games they loved, and it was booming in those times. One quick question here. Like GG Poker and GG Poker success is really good case for the case studies itself, because it brought back the love of poker and brought back, from my point of view, brought back the customer-centric approach to gamification itself, to engaging much more closer up, how users could progress through ranks, levels, get rake backs from, and get maximum out of the poker software itself. And that shift and few big moves from them, for example, bringing back the WSOP and making WSOP online, that was one of the, let's say, big events from me, because we as a company were always doing WSOP events, like WSOP-C events, sorry about that, and they were not that big. But when it happened online, and when I was comparing live active sessions, and GG Poker was climbing up and PokerStars was climbing down, and I still remember the day, even though poker was not under my portfolio anymore. I still remember the day when it was the first time when GG Poker overthrew the PokerStars. And it was such a big, let's say, event within the industry that I was just applauding them, good job, guys. You really knew what to do and you delivered. One more thing that arises here is that you have been on the market for quite a long of times. We've seen, you told already us, the Black Friday, that everything was blocked in USA, and how the market declined during those 5 years when there was not big things and not big movements happening, and the Asian market was on the rise. Can you also, based on the experience, say what is the difference between different player demographics and different expectations from the different markets, and how do you adapt to them, and what's your approach regarding that?
Yeah, so it's very different. Players' expectations and players' experience, especially with poker. Because, for example, let's say about this simple thing as client applications. So, we look to Europe and people, or United States, and players are very used to play on the desktop using their desktop applications, and adoption of mobile is among really regular playing pokerists is not that high. So they still prefer to play on desktops. They still prefer to play on multi-table mode, and so forth.
Big screens, all the tables running around, making decisions in split seconds. Yeah.
Going to Latin America, since poker in Latin America was introduced much later, there is almost zero adoption of desktop application to play poker in Latin America. But except for Argentina, because Argentina, for poker, is kind of much more advanced compared to the rest of Latin America. In Argentina, still desktop has a big presence to access this game, but the rest of Latin America, dominance of mobile first access to poker is like 90, 95, 99%.
Yeah. Like
The
a
same
key,
happening
let's say.
in Asia, for example. In Asia, also like no desktop poker at all, zero. But like this next point is almost similar about what players expect from poker as a game. So again, since the players base in Europe and in the US is much, let's say, older and more experienced in poker, they expect something that they had been already introduced, and that was introduced long time ago, like trade gameplay, like focus on cash games and tournaments, like no distraction, like you really focus to play poker itself. But for example, if you go to Latin America, and mostly Latin American players were introduced to poker by poker clubs applications, you know them, like PB Poker or Poker Bros. And these applications are developed with different mindset, and they are targeting different players' audience. And it's more casual. There are more animations. There are more different activities which could be done by players. You know, emojis.
Yeah, shooting the snow cones and like having fun.
And yeah, players in Latin America, they can't imagine playing poker without all these side things, you know. They expect this experience from poker. If you show them like classic Poker Stars
environment,
user interface, they would find it boring. Like it's like not interesting. So it really depends on like region and how players in this region were introduced into this game. And also finally also generation influence, you know, like since now in emerging markets most active players audience are those who are younger. Younger players, they also like used to more extensive use of gamifications, achievements, and all these casual games stuff which were introduced lately into iGaming.
Yeah. One thing that I would also add here is that those type of players expecting this are because of the everything that is happening also outside of our industry and that is happening around there. So they are, let's say, brought up with the games, with the excitements, like for example Roblox, for example like mobile games like Candy Crush, and games like that are mini RPGs and like fun to play. And for those games, like gamification is overloaded and social elements are overloaded. So they are brought up with that in mind, and they expect in every other product or every other experience the same thing. So I totally get you on that point, and that is also why, let's say, new type of poker formats were introduced from my point of view during like last decade, because like poker game itself for me is like a deep dive, like deep sessions, like maybe 8-hour session, 10-hour session, 11-hour session, just playing, for example, for one tournament or 2-day tournament. Like I think that everybody can relate to whoever played like big tournament that it can last like even 3 days or 4 days. And if anybody played like live tournaments, they can totally relate how much stress it's on the body and how you have to be like in the best shape ever, even without like a mental thing, but a physical thing as well, because just sitting around and playing all those hands, like it stresses you out. And from my point of view, what I've seen also within the industry is that the fast formats and mobile first trends are quite popular. Like if I'm saying the name right, like fast, it was like 3 people sitting down with 500 chips, like the twister or spin poker type of mechanics that like
spin go
jackpot type. Yeah. Like that was introduced and that was so popular during like certain amount of time. And that game, like for me, was not the poker itself. It was like maybe a roulette or something other than just poker, because it was not that relevant, for example, for me as a regular player. But I've seen so many of like industry friends, so many like friends itself, like playing those games because it was much more relevant for them whenever they had time, whenever they had like a break, they could play it. So this is also because the span of the person's attention was brought down quite a lot. And these type of games were also like induced to us, and that's most probably why. One more thing is that from the B2B side of perspective, I think that you might be having this challenge as well. So EvenBet is a B2B platform, right? And it is adapting to the ever-changing trend of the poker across multiple regions. And what do you do in order to not, let's say, get behind of the scale and like get behind of the complexity and slow down, but rather to be ahead of the curve and be the ones that are innovating in every market? So what's your, let's say, secret sauce, or maybe like an approach, like a general approach to be on top of the best poker B2B provider there is?
Well, first of all, we are not the biggest.
Yeah.
So because of this, we need kind of a competitive edge. We can't be competitive against other by size or by reputation, let's say. So we need another competitive edge, and we chose as a competitive edge like level of innovation we bring into our product. Like staying ahead of competitors is our main focus to win our competitors in face-to-face comparison. And to achieve this, what we do, it's not big secrets. It's very easy to do for anyone. So B2B companies, software development companies really need to control balance between serving existing customers and innovations. So like, I mean, we need consciously understand how much within our financial system, within our business model, we spend resources on serving existing customers and how much resources we spend on innovations. And if, for example, if someone wants to be like innovative enough, so like it's important to devote controllable amount of resources for new features and innovations. So by the way, it can be adapted and changed depending on like specific like period of company's development. I mean, like if you feel like that this year you need to improve how you serve your customers and maybe have less features to be released, it's okay. So like you move this slider to 90% and 10% for innovation, and that's fine. And then the next year you can change it back. Really depend how many new customers you get and how your product is developed. But still, being innovative, making new features, it's important to have this under control. So like to have this like within your roadmap and within your culture to think how to bring new features and new ideas into the product. So
I think that this is related to the currently what me and my company are also facing, and I will be a bit open about it, because at some point in time when you are transforming and scaling up, there comes a big choice of the great ideas that you have and great things that you want to do and you want to really innovate, and also big like clients with their like agenda coming your way, choosing your solution and asking you also to innovate in a way, but let's say with their interest in mind, because
yes,
as far as you are developing the new feature, it will be reusable for other clients as well if they want. But everybody has that, let's say, their own agenda. And as soon as you hit, let's say, big clients, let's say, big players within the industry, like international clients, that balance becomes so hard that for us right now, that percentage is shifting towards like maintenance, existing client requests, and also satisfaction of the clients because they need to be satisfied. And another portion is left for innovation. And that was my fear at the first. As you say, it's nothing to fear about. That means that business is growing and is scaling. Right now, you must more think about the existing ones rather than the new ones incoming, and like change your approach in a way that for some time you are not more that innovative, but you are more like a stable platform, much more reliable, much more secure, much more optimized. Like your infrastructure is good across the globe, because that is also, I think, that one of the challenge that you have overcome over the years, because as you mentioned, you are over the different regions. So first, when we started, we had only one AWS region, but now we have 12 right now, or 11 or 12 right now. So like even like understanding that how much the operation grows and how much resources needs to be directed to it, it's scary. But as a founders and as a CEOs and as a C-level people, you should not be afraid of the change. You just need to face the fact that this is right now our position, and we know what our position is, and we will fix it, and we will concentrate on this, and we will come back to our core values little bit later in this year or next year as well, because nobody's going anywhere. Let's say industry will be still going and you have to catch up. Okay, that was so relatable for me. For example, personally, like this like eased up my mind right now, because as you know, lots of different companies, like by the end of the year, they are planning out the next year, right? And for the next year, like everybody comes up with the different ideas, and everybody has like, let's do this, let's do that. We need to focus on this. We need to improve that. And it's so overwhelming at some point, like, because everybody wants to be innovative. Every company wants to take more market share. Everybody wants to grow into new region. But at the end of the day, you should always concentrate on, let's say, retaining your active customers and also making them feel much more happy. By the way, I'm meaning clients, not the customers, like end users. So that was some eye-opening for me as well. So we will try to focus more on, like, we will be much more less stressful about how our innovation and, let's say, existing client satisfaction rate will be here. And on that topic, I think that one of the more important things, like as like CEO, I want to ask you, because I think that that is also on my agenda too much, and I really want to know your approach regarding how should a company balance out between a long-term vision and between the short-term goals. Because, for example, like we have a long-term vision, and this long-term vision is to like become one of the, let's say, best gamification providers, and within the gamification do all the innovative things. But at the same time, there are short demands, like next year there is a World Cup and everything is concentrated on that. Nobody cares about anything else. Like everybody's like, what we are going to do for World Cup, we want this, we want that. So how or what approach should we use to balance the long-term vision with the fast-moving short-term demands that is on our table?
You need to digitalize this. I mean, like, you need to quantify, not qualify. If you think about, once you try to make some quantities, to put some numbers into this, whatever numbers it is, you would have much better understanding what you're going to do with this. For example, let's talk about, you are talking about features, for example. You have 10 features. Some of them are long-term and some of them, they serve like immediate impact, right? And you need to decide which of them to invest, right? So what you can do, you can sit with your product team and make this RISE estimation when you understand how much of the impact, how much of reach, how much of cost and confidence, how much confidence and expenses it has feature have. So you make expert estimation, and then you try to calculate and understand priorities of these features. So the idea is, making these estimations, you could at least to get to the understanding, like, okay, I have this short-term feature, but it has enormous impact on my business, enormous impact on my revenue. I can't get rid of this, definitely, because it will increase my revenue for 3 times or 2 times, whatever. There is, for example, long-term feature. long-term technical decisions that will provide for you like better reach in the future. You will cover more customers and so forth. So by estimating these numbers internally, for example, you can sit with your committee and everyone has this estimation from 0 to 10 of each parameter. Get into like a joint conclusion. For example, okay, we will do these 5 things, these 5 initiatives in the next year, and 2 of them are for immediate business needs and 3 of them are for long term. So like in this way you could like always make it, it's like working with the same as with features. So you can consider your business as a product itself. And you do these initiatives to improve your business as a product. So every like 6 months, you get back to this, like, product grooming. You get back to these initiatives, you review them again, you again estimate the impact, and again, you repeat this exercise. And also like you can agree within your management committee, within your management board, what is the situation inside your company. It's like if you are surviving and you're not having money to pay your and you have cash deficit, you don't have enough money to cover your expenses, it doesn't make sense to think about it long term, right? You need to really focus on short-term things which will help you to survive. If you have very stable customers, long-term contracts, like everything is already settled up, so like really you don't need to be really scared
focus on the
yeah. I mean, like you don't need to think about risks. If you don't do something short term, it will affect your business because you have some stable revenue flow. So you can move focused toward long-term goals to keep this repeating every year and so forth. So like also like it's important to understand what's your business focus. But anyway, it's back to initiatives. It's important to list them and estimate by each stakeholder of your team, and then you can make some combined vision which specific initiatives long-term and short-term you would invest.
Got it. I'm coming from marketing background, and like I had one, I always most probably ask this question to every my guest, like what about if we talk about decision making, that what is the approach between the data and intuition, like a gut feeling and emotional like decisions. And by the way, you already answered me that, like you are more like a data guy, as I understand, and more like a person that follows the frameworks and let's say like chooses what is best and like always asks, let's say, room in which he is. That was nice to hear, because like we most of the time try to approach it like that. We are still in the era that it's still a startup. Like I really want for the company to keep as a startup for as long as I can before like it becomes too much bureaucracy and too much things are involved when one thing needs to change and like it has to go through 10 person like list, because I've been the part of that, like working in like a global iGaming company. It's really complicated with the bureaucracy, and I think that you might have approached to the same situation when you're talking with the big clients. They take like for decision making around like 6 months or even 1 year or even more. And like that is always a uphill battle, and I know that from the behind the scenes what is happening inside. So that is sometimes a really, really hard thing to do. One more thing like that I really want to know, what is right now the poker, let's say, sector status? So where is poker right now as a like vertical of iGaming? And like my next question would be, is poker competing with any other product, or is it a supplementary product to have, or is it a nice to have? So from your like inside knowledge, like where does the poker sits within the iGaming right now?
It really depends on region.
The market, yeah.
So yeah, let's go again region by region. Europe is pretty stable. I heard many times that it's going down, but it's not really going down poker. So poker is still growing steadily for the last 10 years in the established regions of Europe and CIS, but just a few percent of the year. So like not like that crazy growth as we could see from other verticals. US is growing because demand is high there for poker, and offer is very little, is very low, and only first operators are starting there, and they're growing really nice. And I expect big future because at the end, USA is like motherland of poker, you know.
Where it
So
was
like
born. I still remember the stories about Moneymaker Effect. I was a kid then. I was really a kid then, and we had it was Card Player TV, if I remember it correctly, like where we were watching all of this, either Card Player TV or some like a TV station that I even learned a little bit English just by watching this because my father was king. He was not even Texas Hold'em player. He was 5-stat player. So he was the one who taught me, like when he was playing with his friends, like home games. That is the place that I learned even to play the poker game itself. And I remember I remember how much like this is most probably like a child memory or something like that, because I remember the stacks of money over the poker table and like people competing like in live events. And that was so big from the childhood. Even when I grew up, when I got into the poker firsthand, it's like brought back all the good memories from the childhood I had. Sorry for interrupting. I just remembered that part. And
it's all right.
Going back to the motherland of the poker.
And Latin America is growing really fast, especially Brazil. There are two biggest series after WSOP, BSOP and KSOP. They are both in Brazil. Brazil, Argentina, Mexico is now emerging market for poker. Asia is still growing very nice for poker, but like in general in iGaming. And finally, Africa is just showing first interests. We are live with a few big operators in South Africa. We are live with a few operators in other countries of Africa. And it's just first, like, you know, first touches of players of this game. And, you know, because of connectivity, because of devices, it's still kind of not easy for players to learn this game fast and deeply. So, but I'm expecting that inevitably, you know, this game is very interesting, and inevitably Africa will join this and will contribute players and operators into this vertical.
Thanks for that. And I think that when the connectivity is fixed and also they will start experiencing, maybe it will be a different format of the poker that keeps up in Africa, but it will be something.
Yeah, by the way, we are experimenting now with completely different user journey in poker, completely different flow for African players. For example, we will try to skip now completely lobby and go directly to tables, because
like a fast sit, like straightforward to
fast sitting, because lobby often confuses players. Oh, they are lost there, they don't know what to do. So like, first we'll try to onboard them and show them like gameplay itself, so they could get interested, and then they could learn a bit more about lobby, about ring games and tournaments and so forth. So we are trying to experiment with user flow in Africa.
I have like, how to say, two, let's say, personal questions for you. You've been in the industry for so long. So one of my, I think that I have half of the experience that you have in the industry. So like another 10 years when I imagine that, like it's quite a long time, and I know how the competitive this industry is. What I want to ask you is about what motivates you after all these years in this all the competitive craziness that is happening? Is it the challenge? Is it still like something that I can relate to or people can relate to?
Very simple. This industry, you know, we have been doing, from one side, we have been doing this for 20 years, but from another side, we have been doing it in a completely different way for all these 20 years. And I would say
Yeah.
I have been working with 3 different companies, at least 3 different market situations during this 20 years period. And what is motivating me now is that the industry is it's a very unique industry where there is still room for innovation, for new products, new companies. Every expo you can see new brands, right? You
Yeah.
can see new
Popping
stands.
up everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, popping up everywhere. So so many changes are happening now, and so this industry still allows to new
For
entrants,
newcomers.
still allows to start from the scratch and reach some big targets, right? So
Yeah.
and it's very unique situation because not so many, there are not so many industries now where you can do this
Yeah.
without like a decent capital, invest capital and venture funds. So and industry is still growing and rapidly transforming. It's like it excites me a lot that with these transformations you need to keep up, you need to transform yourself, you need to transform your company, and this creates a lot of like the biggest motivation for me to stay within industry until it's stop happening. I would stay here and I would keep continuing like working, innovate in and make new products and so forth. So like it's still very interesting. So I don't know how we can. So like it's, to be honest, it's easier to get overwhelmed by this industry that rather than get bored.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think
even
that yeah.
okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to say about Overham. I had like few acquaintances like that got into the industry, and they're like after 6 months they were like, I'm fed up. I cannot like I don't like it, and so on and so on. But I had people that I got a little bit late into the industry, like late 35 or 40 years, and they were like mesmerized and amazed that the industry like this even existed and how this industry was rewarding towards even the new in their late ages, let's say, not like starting up from here, but let's say in the later ages of the like C-level management and so on and so on. So that is also really, really big. And I cannot agree more regarding that newcomers are welcomed. Of course, newcomers have to overcome quite a lot of challenges regarding like their first like landing their first big client, like scaling all the requirements, all the legal, all the uptimes and so on. But that is part of the game itself. Like if you want to go big, you have to be prepared for serving even big customers. And I've seen few, let's say, newcomers make that mistake that they were not ready to serve the big companies, and they made a big mistake by going big at the moment that they could not serve them.
Yeah, but still they have got big customers.
Still
Imagine
they got
maybe in 5-10 years it would be not possible to find for newcomers to find new customers at all because it will be very saturated and competitive. So
yeah.
I have invested, for example, into a few game dev companies just to understand this industry, and since we all know then these convergence between video games and casual games in our industry, I'm interested to see trends there. And I would say that the situation there is much, much more difficult for incumbents and for newcomers. You need to have very good money just to bring your game to the market. And there is no guarantee that this game would be
working out or
like
being
would
popular.
make any money. Or like invest heavily, you bring up this game to the market and it makes zero. So like it's great that our industry still gives this opportunity to new talents, to new people with crazy ideas, with crazy products and interesting ideas as well. So to thrive in this industry and find their customers.
Yeah. I think that on the topic, I really like what Stake did. Like few days ago, we had like internal discussion regarding the games. I'm off topic right now from our podcast. but they did a quite good job regarding stake engine. So if you're a studio and you don't have like a power to go through all the legal, all the technical, all the, I don't know, taking the licenses and so on and going like straightforward, what they offer is that they have an engine that you can build upon on. So they have the RGS, they have all the mathematics figured out, and you just have like good, let's say, ideas, themes, or maybe the game like itself, and you can just develop there. Of course, you have to go through like a hell of the like checks and everything, but it's still, even such a, like in a crypto space, such a big company gives the opportunity for newcomers or new studios to do this without all the hell that comes with the game development is also very, very cool. And we were just talking about the Roblox type of approach, and where big companies can really innovate and big companies can really give the opportunity for newcomers and new players to innovate in this space as well. And I know that some of the like big 10 companies are doing this as an initiative, giving opportunities to startups and giving opportunities to like 2 or 3 year companies just to make a POCs with them and like see how this product then resonates with their customers, and giving them, let's say, a stage to just experience everything. And that is also because of this is our industry. I can never imagine, like, for example, in financial industry or in like an old school industry, like somebody giving a like startup a chance like to touch like a wallet balance. Like there would never be like this, and it would be like a hell of the journey. But yeah, our industry allows it, and that's really, really good. As far as we are already running out of time, we have a really cool tradition in my personal view. So we have a tradition where previous guest leaves a question for next guest. And that is always a really, really cool thing when previous guest doesn't know who would be like next our guest. And the question is, and I find it so hard, but still, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not like even like adding my own ideas to it. What would be different in a world where there is no gray market and only regulated market exists?
It would happen inevitably. I mean, like maybe not zero gray market, but dominance. Right now, there is dominance of gray market and very little regulated market. But in 10 years, I don't know, maybe 15, maybe I don't know. I don't know how much time it will take, but for sure it will happen. The situation will be vice versa. So like it will be domination of a regulated market, and most of the countries region will be covered by regulated markets, and there will be still very little space, but still for gray markets. So in this, I follow just general macroeconomics ideas and understanding. So it will be dominance of a few big operators,
Big groups,
which will cover all the regions, all the countries, and there may be just a few, like 1, 2, max 3 dominant powers. In this situation, you can be just one operator. You don't need to create operator for each country, for each region. But there will be a layer of medium-sized operators which will target very specific niches of players, or very specific niches, geographical niches, or niches of players, or players which need very specific games, which are not interesting to place on the bigger platforms, bigger operators. And these smaller, medium-sized operators and small-sized operators will be served by 1 or 2 big platforms, which will allow to operate in very automated mode, like Shopify. You know, you log in, you create your
store,
online shop, you just put some activate payment methods and so forth, and then in a few hours you are ready to operate. Maybe not in a few hours, but very quickly. So like this is my expectation. So like as usual, 90% of or 80% of needs of players will be covered by bigger operators, and then niche players, niche games, niche geographies will be covered by these small operators. Unfortunately, the rest will be
eaten
Will
out or
gone.
driven out. Yeah, will be gone. So I think that there will be like not a monopoly to say like this, but a really, really big, let's say oligopoly, or I don't remember the other words, like when 3 or 4 companies are like dominant in the market and they take over.
It's
But
consolidated.
yes,
We call it.
consolidated market. Yeah, it would be like that. Okay, nice. Right now, Dimitri, we need to also set a question for our next guest as well. So I need you to think about what you want to ask our next guest.
Yeah, let's keep it within regulation space.
Let's do it.
So, like we discussed this right now with you about what could be potential scenario. But for iGaming, for our industry and for players, what's your opinion about regulation? Will it kill our industry? Is it good for our industry, for players, or is it bad for it? It will worse players' experience, and industry will suffer from this and so forth. So, would we be better to keep this fast move, fast reacting crypto casinos and gray market casinos when players have they are very agile, they understand how to serve players and so forth, or but they don't really care about responsibility,
KYC, like responsibility
yes,
access, and like anything
yes.
like that.
So or it would be better if everything is like very common playground, one place, one rules, and very safe for players to play, and yeah. So like, what would be better in your opinion for the industry and for players?
So I think that I will divide that question into 2, because from my point of view, there is also a different answer. What would be better for the industry and what would be the differ for
Okay,
the
let's do it. Yeah.
customers? And let's do it in like that 2-way. Like you leave our next guest a little bit of more like a bonus question as well. Hidden question, and to this hidden question, blind question, and to the blind question, another bonus question. So it will be good for them to really, really think about it. Okay, so I think that for today we shared quite a lot of insights. I'm happy that we didn't touch too much upon the gameplay, because we would start like telling a little bit about our hands, like bad bits, and these discussions are always the ones that I really enjoy. Like even for the end, for dessert, I'll just tell one. So like first time that I met you, it was like few years ago. It was regarding the tournament that you were organizing for the industry event. And like, I still remember every hand that I was beaten in every industry event. And on a good side, I once remember that I was in the finals and I won quite a good amount chunk of like pocket change. And that was also fun thing about it as well. But that was good in terms that we didn't touch upon that. So let me wrap this up. Today we had an iGaming. I think that Dimitri wouldn't mind it, calling him a little bit of a veteran of our industry, the CEO of EvenBet and one of the leading poker platform providers on B2B side. And what I want to say is, Dimitri, one more time, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being with us, and for all our listeners, like not to forget to subscribe to us in all your favorite, let's say, channels, because we are everywhere, starting from YouTube, ending with Spotify. And see you in 2 weeks, even though it's New Year's upcoming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for meaningful conversation and discussion. It was very pleasant. And
Thanks, Dimitri.
Wish you great upcoming holidays.
Yeah, you too. Try to like recharge and prepare for the new year. 2026 is upon us.